What's up, Taiwan? I'm Jeremy Olivier with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. More than 100 Filipinos in Taipei have come out in the rain to show their support for their former president, Rodrigo Duterte. He's set to become the first Asian former head of state to go on trial at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Luis Watt reports.
Calling for the Philippines' former president, Rodrigo Duterte, to be allowed to go home. His supporters in Taipei have gathered to condemn Duterte's detention by the International Criminal Court. He's accused of crimes against humanity over his war on drugs that rights groups say killed as many as 30,000 people. While he's a divisive figure, Duterte is still popular among many Filipinos who say he made the country safer. Supporters have been marking his 80th birthday, including in Davao City, where he first started his crackdown on drugs as mayor. In cities outside the Philippines, including Taipei, they held their own rallies.
We are together now because we are very sad.
Duterte is a good leader. Duterte is the best president.
This protest is being held a short walk away from the de facto Filipino embassy in Taipei. These protesters are hoping their chants of support for Duterte will be heard by their own government. Scott Huang and Louise Watt in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Migrant workers in Taipei are speaking out against labor exploitation and mistreatment of women.
Migrant women, fight, fight, fight!
Fight, women, fight, fight, fight!
Fight for equal workers' rights!
The gathering is part of the global 1 Billion Rising campaign to end sexual violence against women. Those here say they face unsafe working conditions, long hours, and a lack of maternity rights. They also say recruitment in Taiwan takes advantage of their labor.
They're not alone in facing gender and sexual violence, and we don't have to be reduced to victims. We are also women who fight back, and we talk, and these experiences do not just make us victims, but these experiences make us fighters against the existing system.
Taiwan currently has over 825,000 migrant workers, mainly from Indonesia, the Philippines, and Thailand. The death toll from an earthquake in Myanmar has risen to more than 1,600, according to the country's ruling junta. More than 3,000 are injured and dozens are still missing. Luis Watt reports.
The aftermath of an earthquake in Myanmar. In the city of Mandalay, another building collapses. 2 days on, the magnitude 7.7 earthquake has killed more than 1,600 people in this Southeast Asian nation already grappling with civil war. In the wake of Myanmar's deadliest natural disaster in years, people are feared trapped, including this man's wife. For him, some hope. She has been found under the rubble.
In
the wake of Myanmar's deadliest natural disaster in years, its military rulers are letting in foreign aid, including from China, India, and Russia. But getting aid to those who need it will be hard, with thousands of buildings damaged, as well as airports, bridges, and roads. Hospitals, some also impacted, are struggling to cope, adding to the sense of desperation among survivors. Howard Zhang and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Here in Taiwan, teams are on standby, ready to help with rescue efforts in Myanmar. The National Fire Agency has assembled a 126-member search and rescue team, including doctors, nurses, and technical experts. A 40-member team from Pingdong County in southern Taiwan is on standby, waiting to be dispatched from the Foreign Ministry. That same team previously took part in rescue efforts after the 2023 earthquake in Turkey. Meanwhile, local charities are stepping up, launching donation drives to support relief efforts. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has stressed Japan's importance in deterring Chinese aggression in the Taiwan Strait, calling the country indispensable.
I look forward to discussing the need for credible deterrence in this region, including across the Taiwan Strait. And Japan is our indispensable partner in deterring communist Chinese military aggression.
The defense secretary was speaking to his Japanese counterpart, Nakatani Gun, during a visit to Tokyo, part of his first trip to Asia in the role. Hegseth called Japan a cornerstone of peace and security in the Indo-Pacific. His comments suggest the U.S. Trump administration will continue to work with allies in the region to counter China. For more on U.S.-Japan relations, Adel Brar spoke to Stephen Nagy from the International Christian University in Tokyo.
Pete Hegseth says Japan is indispensable for security in the Taiwan Strait. What's your take on that?
I think that we should understand that the Trump administration and the Secretary of Defense have been consistent that deterring China and maintaining a strong forward-leaning presence in the Indo-Pacific has been a priority for the administration. And this includes ensuring that peace and stability is maintained across the Taiwan Strait. Japan will be an essential partner in any kind of deterrence-related activities with the United States. And again, the deterrence-related activities are primarily and most importantly focused on preventing conflict from emerging and maintaining peace and stability across the Taiwan Straits.
Does this indicate the U.S. will be strengthening its ties with allies in Asia? What would this look like?
The cooperation between Japan and the United States will continue to be based on the U.S.-Japan alliance. That means focusing on joint capabilities, joint training, maritime domain awareness, building those important defense capabilities and deterrence capabilities across the Taiwan Strait. At this stage, that may be drone production. It could be the use of defensive missile systems that will be placed in and around the Japanese archipelago to, again, ensure that aggressive action or military action by the PLA doesn't take place.
How do you see the U.S. and Japan teaming up to counter any moves by China in the Taiwan Strait?
Well, any cooperation between the United States and Japan will be based primarily on diplomacy, secondarily on diplomacy, and third on diplomacy. Diplomacy ultimately is the best way to secure peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Here, joint declarations and forging declarations within multilateral and minilateral partnerships that focus on Taiwan as a global public good will be incredibly important. We need to highlight that Taiwan is a global public good in terms of not only semiconductor provision, but also its place in sea lines of communication.
That was Stephen Nagy from the International Christian University in Tokyo. Western classical music has over 1,000 years of history, but has since found new audiences and performers from countries and cultures around the world. So what does it take to become a world-class classical musician in the modern era? Reese Ayers spoke with Taiwanese-American cellist Kenneth Guo to find out.
So first, let's start right at the beginning. How does a young Taiwanese-American boy get interested in classical music?
Well, I was about 4.5 years old, and I had no idea what a cello is until a cello teacher actually came to my kindergarten and started teaching a friend of mine. And so my mother saw that. She's like, you know what? I want my kid to learn how to play the cello. So I thought cello is one of those things that you put on the ground and strum, with your finger, like a guzheng. And then, but there did I know, you have to put it between your leg and you play, and then next thing you know, I'm a world-class cellist many years after.
You make it sound so easy.
Well, it should be, actually.
Well, speaking of which, how much training goes into becoming a world-class cellist? What differentiates a great cellist from the best?
Well, I think I was very lucky to have the greatest instructors, and I have great teachers from each part of my cello career, from the beginning to my last teacher. I have 5 teachers in total, and they were all perfect for each stages of my life. And having a great training actually sets you up for being a world-class cellist. But to become a better cellist than that, it takes passion, takes talent, takes perseverance. the world is full of no's, you're not good enough. But music, it speaks to you, and music opens a lot of doors. And I think I'm one of those opportunists that have taken advantage of when the doors open, I try to go through it.
And so you've since performed for Taiwan President Lai Ching-te at his inauguration.
Right.
You performed in the Met Stadium in New York City.
Yes.
How do you prepare for shows like that?
You know, there's so much that you could prepare musically. And I think that for me, music, as a professional, it comes more natural than, you know, like a baseball player pitching that ball down to, you know, the catcher and made a strike. For them, it comes natural. And for me, to be able to play is natural part. But it's going up there, giving a speech, congratulate the president, or being able to wave to like 40,000 fans in a stadium, because, you know, normal cellists, they play in concert halls, a few hundred people, at most 1,000. But when you're in a stadium, it's unreal, you know, or when you're playing, the president's right there looking at you. But I think the more exciting thing was getting the phone call, you know, from the organization, from the president's office, says, hey, the president wants you to play at his inauguration. And what an honor, you know, and also what an honor it is to play the national anthem, U.S. national anthem at the Met Stadium, and being the first cellist ever to do that.
Can I ask about your experiences being an Asian performer in what's typically, historically, a Western genre of music?
Well, in the past about 20, 30 years, there are more and more Asian classical musicians starting to show up in many parts of the institutions, you know, in New York, such as Juilliard, you know, and Curtis Institute, Manhattan School of Music. Asian, for some reason, the culture respects classical music in terms of higher education, higher classicism, you know, higher culture. So it has been embraced so much by the Asian educational system that as an Asian and Taiwanese, I never really felt that it is a disadvantage being Asian in the world. But of course, you know, as an Asian musician, you know, your challenges of getting a job and everything is pretty much the same, you know, because basically, if you're good, you get gigs. But at the same time, because there's so many Asian musicians these days, sometimes it becomes more competitive among the, you know, the Asian, music field. So I would say that it is even more difficult to be an Asian musician in Asia than it is being in Western countries.
That was classical cellist Kenneth Guo. You can watch the full interview with him on Zoom In Zoom Out by visiting our website or the YouTube channel. Taipei Fashion Week is marking Zero Waste Day with a sustainable lifestyle workshop. The course invites fashion enthusiasts to learn how to reuse and recycle paper bags with the help of local designers. Fashion waste is a major global issue, generating around 92 million metric tons of textile waste annually.
我觉得其实应该就是永续时尚，不是只是在讲所谓的衣服，因为时尚原本就是在讲生活，所以回到生活，我觉得食衣住行娱乐其实都可以透过永续创作的方式来找到一个新的方向。
Taipei Fashion Week's theme this year is Endless Fashion, promoting sustainability in the sector. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more of our stories. Finally, we go to Bali for this traditional Hindu New Year's ceremony. I'm Jeremy Olivier. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, follow TaiwanPlus on socials. Pika!